Welcome to the Breathwork Summit, a free online event where you'll learn from top experts about integrating the power of your breath to transform your health and well-being. Share this powerful program with your friends and family, and come join us on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Jim Morningstar.
Welcome to Breathwork in daily professional business life, including Breathwork for Recovery. I'm Jim Morningstar, and I am so glad and proud to be speaking today with Viola Edward, a longtime colleague and friend. Viola is a recipient of multiple awards, including a doctorate honoris causa for aspirational woman and outstanding contribution to mentoring. She's a board member and ambassador of several organizations. She's the author of 2 books, Breathing in the Rhythm of Success and Who Makes the Bed. She's the co-author of 6 more books. Viola is co-owner of Kayana Breathwork and founder of Feminine Capital Forum. She's a transcultural psychotherapist, breathwork leader trainer, expert in stress mastery, breathwork for recovery, well-being, and mental health. Wow. Viola has mentored over 10,000 people in relationship, well-being, leadership, and trained over 400 breathworkers, mentors, and holistic business consultants. Viola currently travels the world to speak and train internationally. She's based in Cyprus, where she hosts retreats and residential trainings. She specializes in her signature methodology, Kayana Breathwork Mentoring. Wow, Viola. Actually, I've known you for so many years, and myself didn't recognize I knew you were a busy woman, but this is tremendous work that you've done. Today, we're going to especially look at 2 areas that are dear to my heart. And the first is breathwork in business. Can you tell us how you got into that and why it's so important that we're introducing breathwork into the business world these days?
Yes. Well, actually, we introduced it many, many years ago when you and me, we met. It was late 90s. And before I become a breathworker and psychotherapist, I used to work in business for 21 years. And maybe something it was missed from my bio when you were introducing me is that I'm 60 years old. For that, I have done so many things. So because I started to work at the age of 13, by the age of 34, when I dedicated and started to work in my first company in Venezuela, shortly, I managed to combine my experience in the world work with my love and experience for psychotherapy and breathwork. And it was mid-90s when I started taking breathwork to the business world. And I remember when I met you in the late 90s, you were quite amused and amazed about how I'm doing that in South America. And it was very interesting time. And now there is the time is ready to take that everywhere. So it's very important for professional and business world to work in the wellness and mental health and how we need to breathe into those concepts. Maybe you're listening to us, all of you, or many of you listening to us, you are entrepreneurs and you have small companies, medium companies, or larger companies. And maybe you have, in this moment, are suffering from a lot of people coming and going to your business, retraining them. Maybe you are suffering from people having a lot of mobbing, complaining, and maybe there is a lot of people who get ill or come late. And there is a very important thing we talk about these days. The dynamic, how the world goes, show us that people move quite quickly from one job to another. But when people go upset from one job to another, they are not upset with the job mainly. They're upset with their boss. They're upset with the environment. Maybe they don't feel at ease with the company culture. So it's very, very important to bring the holistic business consultancy in through and with the methodology of breathwork, because breathing consciously is our connection with life. And while we own what is the conscious breathing, we can own our ability to learn, to expand, and to relearn. And for that, it's so important to take the conscious breathing in the language of the business to the business, because we, all of us, in many, many ambience, we need what is sustainable productivity. We need to be rewarded for all what we do, but also we need the population of our business, being one or being thousands, to be satisfied and to be happy that they are feeling approved and useful. Because as you know, Jim, because you also work in different countries, doesn't matter where we go and in which languages we work, people are people, and all of us, we need to feel useful, at service, and we need to be approved. And that's the major suffering of humanity. And we have in our hand the tool, and in the business world, in the business dynamic, to work so people feel good, while the structure is also good and the strategy is clear and the processes and the systems are working properly.
Viola, you're reminding me how inspirational you were when we met, because I then did follow up on what you were doing and started a business myself called In Wellness, bringing holistic concepts to the business world, just as you're saying, because there is where people spend most of their life. And if they are not treated in a way that they feel welcome, wanted, and valued, their productivity goes down. And this isn't just our idea. This has been confirmed by so much research, as you know. Now, the importance of breath work in this can't be overemphasized, because I learned a whole bunch of tools that people could use to feel good, healthy diet and things like that they could get at work. But breathing and being aware of how they were breathing allowed them to, in the entire time they were at work, have a 24/7 biofeedback mechanism to tell them when they were under stress and when they needed to make changes. And you've had so much more experience with me than this. Can you tell a little bit more about how breathwork itself in the workplace has been effective?
So, yes, I remember very well that time. And I just remember a sentence that one of my teachers used to say, that education doesn't finish at the university, at the secondary school, or at the technical school. Education continues the rest of our life in our working place. For that, it's very important that supervisors and managers are skilled in how to expose, how to create the best field possible so their people give their best and they become the best version of themselves. So a leader is that person who's always working in their continuous development and being conscious about where they are in the here and the now. Now, one of the things that help us to be in the here and the now and to be an observer of how we are and in where we want to go is the breathing. And being conscious about the breathing have so many benefits. For example, one of the things is to understand why our breathing become so limited. We know that when we were children and we enter into our emotional world, any of the limitation of any of the limiting emotion we face in that very early vulnerable age it had affected our breathing system. It's very rare that you see a child who's very angry and frustrated and he's breathing fully or she's breathing fully. Actually, if we teach them, as many of our colleagues are doing nowadays, taking conscious breathing to the classroom, if we teach them how to breathe fully and consciously, they will be able to deal better with the anger, with the frustration and the sadness. I would say the only child who keeps his breathing system going, functioning, is that one who cries. But what people say in general to children who cry is in general, those children are told not to cry or stop to cry. So as we grow up, we have different occasions in our life to limit our breathing. And then we become in that age of teenager when the world is so confusing and we are so confused, and that add more limitation because we build by now a lot of defense mechanism and we have an idea about how the world is and how we have to manage the world. And many of those self-mechanisms, again, had affected our breathing system. So what happened when we enter into our working life, depending of which age? In my case, I start working at 13. And I can see the relation between the stress that I was exposed to at the age of 13 when I started my working life, and we're talking about early 70s, and I will link it later, and how that impulsed me or pushed me to enter into the world of addiction. How did I go into that part of my life to be able to sustain myself in a wrong way, in a way that will take me even more from the here and from the now? So coming back to your question, why breathwork, why conscious breathing is so important in the business, in the professional world, is because maybe this population will never go individually to a therapeutical process or to a breathwork mentoring. And maybe if we as consultants go to their place and explain and teach them about how to own back their major capital, which is their own breath, maybe then we will be able to touch so many souls, so many lives that we will not do naturally. So this is why I'm so engaged to keep doing my work as a business consultant, because it allows me to go to business in their language and, of course, work in different processes and systems and in different strategy and all what a consultant should do, especially in my case in human resources. But my tool is the breathwork and is the conscious thinking.
That's beautiful, Viola. And it really confirms what my experience was when I took breathwork into working with business teams, is they seemed so much more relaxed, so much more friendly at work, and they so much enjoyed our coming back each time we consulted with the teams because they knew that this is something that they could take and use themselves even after we were gone and we weren't there. And I also heard reports of people taking...
Yeah.
Yes. I also heard reports of people taking it home. So what they got at work, which, as you say, they wouldn't have gone to a counselor or a breath worker, but since it worked for them at work, they took it home, and it also worked for them in their family life. It was so beautiful. Exactly,
Jim. And then this is what we're working with in a sustainable productivity. We need to be, of course, productive in our work, but at the same time,